Yes, our speaker today, we have with us Police Chief Eric Michaels, recently appointed Police Chief here at Prescott, and he's graciously agreed to come and share some thoughts he has, a little background about himself, and then just entertain questions for him. So please join me in welcoming him.
So, I'm not one of these guys that likes to stand up in front of people and talk, so it's kind of getting used to that a little more with the new job. So I'm kind of going to introduce who I am, where I'm from, some things that I like to do, and then talk to you a little bit about the direction of the department. So, as Tom said, my name is Eric Michaels. I was born and raised in Waterloo, Iowa. Don't moan and groan, because you know my job. I went to school down there, graduated at West High School, 96. That was a long time ago. And then I moved up here, and the rest is history. I have a wife, 3 daughters, and 1 grandson, and I just found out I have another one on the way. So that's going to be some interesting times coming ahead of us. As far as the direction of the police department, I'm here for you. I know I have a boss, but you guys are my bosses too. The community is my boss. I'm here to listen to you, handle your needs, and do whatever I can to make you guys happy. Some kind of direction that we're going to go here is I kind of revamped the schedule a little bit. We used to have 1 officer on a shift at a time. We're trying to build that up to 2. It's going to cost a little bit of money, sorry. I'd like to get at least 1 or 2 more to have out on the road. I'd like to get an investigator back in the office, because currently we have 8 patrol officers all on the road. Actually 3 of them are learning in FTO right now, and that should end about the end of March, beginning of April. So you'll start seeing more of a police presence out on patrol throughout the day as well. In the past it's been 1 person, and then the chief of police usually would help out if he can, or the investigator. And with losing that investigator spot, we kind of only have 1 on the road right now, so I help when I can. I would like to ask you, this whole policing thing is a team effort. It's not just us. It involves you guys as well as everybody else in the community. You know, don't be afraid to call us if you see something that doesn't seem right. If it doesn't seem right to you, it's probably not right. If it quacks like a duck and quacks like a duck, and it's probably a duck. We have a Facebook page. It gets kept up pretty well by Jenny, who's the administrative assistant there. You're more than welcome to call her with any issues. She'll pass them on to me or one of the officers that are working. As far as issues that we face, there's a lot of drugs in our community. And I know a lot of people don't hear about it because you're kind of protected from it, but I'm not going to lie to you, the meth runs rampant here, and it's sad. I've seen it destroy lives. I've seen it destroy, honestly, families' lives, my family's life. That's something that we're going to push hard on over the next few years with adding officers and so on and so forth. You know, and then thefts. You know, that's one of the things where I tell you guys, you know, if you see something, you know, at night and the person just doesn't look right, it's okay to call us. Don't think, oh, I'm not going to waste their time. You're not wasting our time. It's our job, and we are more than welcome to come out and check it out. And if it's nothing, great. But you may have saved somebody's property from being taken. And I urge you guys to pass that on to everybody. Just today I got a call from a gentleman in town, and he said, you know, I'm sorry to waste your time. You're not wasting my time, sir. It's our job. That's why we do it. We don't do it to get rich. We do it because we love the community and want to help out. One of the other issues that I'm going to face here is recruitment. It's getting harder and harder to get people to come work for us. A lot of it has to do with actions being taken by police officers, and some of it has to do with media. Some media portrays us in a negative light. Some of it deserved, some of it not, but it is what it is, and we just have to work through that. I think I have a very close relationship with Sean. In the local media here, my door is always open to them, and I'm not going to keep anything from them. I think that is pretty much the basis of a good relationship, as long as you can keep communication lines open and just do what they ask. We did hire 3 new people. 2 of them are actually from the area. One of them, some of you may know, Nick Jacobson. big football guy here. Parents were living here. I think Dad was on the police commission when you were there, right, Frank? Yeah. So he's there. He should be done the end of March. And then we have another guy from the area, Hager City, Eric Learned. So not from Prescott, but he's close into the community. He's 15 minutes away where he grew up. So with that, I will take any questions that you guys might have for me.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
Welcome. And when you were interviewing, did you interview for the first time or just for the second time?
I did not.
What made you change your mind?
Well, it's kind of a difficult question to answer. I didn't know if I was ready to take on that role yet when they first come out. And to be honest with you, there was 2 people in our department that had more experience, more knowledge, and I kind of figured, you know what, those are probably one of the 2 that we're going to get. When that happened, I still didn't apply until probably a week and a half before the deadline, and it had a lot to do with city administration, fellow officers saying, you know what, you need to apply for this. Because back in June I was made the officer in charge. And once they kind of did that, and I was kind of not forced to take on that responsibility, but accepting that, I forced myself to take on that responsibility, kind of showed that I could do it. So, and I only have 8 years here. I've actually only got 10 years of law enforcement experience. So you 2 back there, the students of the month, congratulations. You can do whatever you put your mind to. Don't ever think that something is too big, okay, because you can get it done if you really want to do it. So that was what made me decide.
Well, we're glad you did.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Yes. It appears to me and to other people I talked to that the face of the police department for a long time has been just on traffic. Traffic up 35, traffic up 29, looking for speeders and stuff like that. I see more semis even going down 35 than I ever did before, and that's kind of alarming to some degree. Where are they going?
Right.
Down 35, but how's your take on we're an interesting community. We're a suburb of St. Paul, so it's really...
That's one of those difficult things you have to tackle. And there are more semi-traffic. I mean, we've got UNFI, is it Diversified over here that just opened up. That's quadruple our semi-traffic here. And I think a lot of the semi-traffic heading south is actually supposed to be going east. You're getting turned around. And yeah, because so back in the day, from what I gather on this, Eagle Ridge Road or Eagle Ridge Drive, there used to be an Eagle Ridge Drive south of town. Well, when they enter their GPS coordinates into their GPS units, that's where it takes them because it doesn't know about this one yet. So a lot of the semi-traffic down there is that. But Holst too, they've kind of picked up their traffic here. So, but as far as, a lot of them are speeding, and so we try to, take care of that, slow them down. But being a municipal agency, we kind of let the state patrol handle them because there's a lot more things that they can do, and so we work together on that. Yes, ma'am.
Eric, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you in this position. Would you just talk a little bit about your training and your experience prior to taking this chief's job?
Sure. So I started here in 2010 as a part-time officer. I was hired under, Mr. Altpeter was on that commission under Mike Bondarenko. And I worked a year, I think, before I took a full-time slot, but yet as a part-timer. 2012, I was actually hired as a part-time patrol officer. And so for the last 6-7 years, it's been, I've had a lot of schooling, FTO training, things like that. I've gone to school so I could train other people. A lot of CIT, critical incident training, to deal with people that are having, mental issues or, they're just breaking down. A lot of drug schools I've been to, investigation schools. 2-3 years ago, I was promoted by then Chief Krepke to a patrol sergeant. So I was a patrol sergeant up until I was nominated and promoted to chief.
Did you get training right out of high school in law enforcement or
no? No, I actually didn't go to school.
You're learning on the job.
Well, I got a 4-year degree. But I was 30 when I went and got it.
Oh.
So
In
I-
law enforcement, is that what you studied?
Yes, yep, yeah. I spent most of my earlier years in manufacturing and things like that. I started off chipping and grinding and made my way up to a quality engineer, and then I jumped out and got into public service.
What made you want to do that, to jumping into public service?
It was something that I wanted to do since I was a kid. When I was 18, I joined the local fire department, and I was a firefighter, volunteer firefighter, and EMT. And then I got on a reserve police department down there where I was living. So at the age of 20, I was already a reserve police officer, which is a little different down there in Iowa. Down there, you're a full-time, basically certified police officer in Iowa. So you have all the general police powers that, you know, a normal full-time officer would have. So that was actually a benefit for me. I had a little bit more training doing that than I did just as a reserve here in River Falls. So,
Did you go to college down in Iowa too then, or?
nope, I went here, Rasmussen College,
Rasmussen.
over in Egan. Yes, ma'am. Yes?
Yeah, you talked about recruitment, and that was my question too. What do you look for in recruiting? You know, what should young people be looking for education and how to get the law enforcement? You know, what kind of training does it take to,
Well,
or should they be looking for?
in the state of Wisconsin, you have to have a minimum of 60 credit hours of college. You don't necessarily have to have a degree, but you have to have the 60 credit hours. And from that point, you can attend the academy. And I would urge anybody that if they want to get into law enforcement, start out as an explorer. You know, get your feet wet. You can come in with us, and they basically teach you how to do all the stuff that we do. And then from that point on, it's college and criminal justice. I have a criminal justice degree and an investigations major. And then, you know, get your recruit school. You have to go through that to work as a police officer in the state of Wisconsin or Minnesota. And, you know, basically that kind of stuff. We look for people right now that are already certified, or in, like Mr. Jacobson's case, he was a month away from getting certified. So we actually were able to look at him because we knew it was going to happen. But it cost a lot of money to sponsor somebody through that. I think it was, what, $6,000, if you remember correct, when I went through. And so the agency, you know, would front that to get people to come work for them. Well, we don't do that anymore. It costs too much money. So that's kind of what we look for. And then your character. You know, what kind of background do you have? What's your character, your morals, things like that. And we learn that through psych exams and tests, just basically talking.
Another question, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nick, I think he's a great addition to the force. His brother's a full-time police officer down in McFarland, so they have that background. But I think as close as he is to the ages, you know, of people, and he's kind of a role model, I think that'll be a really nice addition.
And he's a great kid.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a fast learner, and he's done good things so far. Go ahead.
I got a couple quick questions. Could you tell us who else is on the police department, particularly people who've been around here for a few years?
Yeah, that list has dwindled very quickly in the last couple of years. Your most senior officer is Sergeant Schultz, who started, I believe, in 2006. So he's got 12 years in him. That's your most senior officer. And then it was me at 8. And then Sergeant, well, let's see who'd be next. Would be Jesse Neely. He was hired the same time I was, a couple months later. And then Chris Stewart. And the rest of them are new. You've got Tom Cohen, who's been there, I think, 3.5 years. Then we started hiring new ones a couple years ago, and that would have been Brett McMahon, who's got just a year in. Chase Jensen's got 6 to 8 months in, and then now we've hired Nick Jacobson and Eric Leonard.
Okay, good.
Oh, you had more.
Go ahead, I've got a lot of them, so go ahead.
I don't have that long friend.
I'll make mine real quick. You had mentioned something about the state patrol in terms of having them help, you know, with spheres. Do you see them having more of a presence out here, either at your request or just knowing the area is a, you know, because of where all the major highways converge in a heavily trafficked area, either for drugs or just, as part of it is catching speeders, and you do that, and oftentimes it leads to investigations for possession of marijuana or methamphetamine or something like that.
Right.
So, do you see them having more of a presence out here to augment your staffing?
They do have more of a presence, and that can be attributed to, Pierce County has always been allotted one state patrol trooper for as many years as I can remember. They've only ever had one, and they actually shared that with, I believe, Pepin County, right below us. So that trooper kind of fluctuated between Pepin and Pierce counties. Well, now they've actually added a trooper and made the first trooper just designated to Pierce County. So now we have 2 troopers that are full-time troopers here in our county, so that's helped. And with 35, 29, and 10, they spend a lot of time here because it's basically a hub, and they just spider web out. So they do spend a lot more time here. If you ever see, gosh, I believe they got an unmarked Explorer and an unmarked Tahoe running around here, that's them.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's them. Or BNSF too, they have, BNSF police have their office here. So those are, you ever see FBI looking vehicles? That's them. They get fun stuff, so.
You gave a list, you do not have a female officer at this time.
Yes, that's Brett.
Did you see a need for that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they have their place in law enforcement just as much as men do. I mean, it's, I don't look at it as a man-woman thing. I want the best qualified candidate that's on my list. And if a woman, female, is at the top, then that's who I want. So to answer your question, do I see a need for it?
Yeah.
No, but I want them if they're qualified.
Okay.
I don't see a need for a man either. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? if I have 8 female officers at the top of my list, I'm taking 8 female officers.
Okay.
You understand what I'm trying to say? I don't look at it like that. So
It's officers, period.
I have another question. It seems like the police department used to be more involved in the community, not just with the bad people.
right.
And it would be nice to see that again. I know you got your hands full, but even your younger officers, stop in here for lunch or stop at the stop in and visit would be really great, because I think that they're gonna learn an awful lot about what's going on if I trust them or if someone else trusts them. It's just that building that relationship. Do you see that coming?
Yes, I do actually.
Good.
That's kind of one of the things that I foresee. I've looked a lot around the different agencies. You have Coffee with a Cop, things like Shop with a Cop. We do that now. That started this year. I think we've done it the last 2 years. So there's going to be more involvement in the community. We do National Night Out now. That's, I think, been running 2 years straight now. And that's only going to get bigger, so yeah, there will be more community involvement with our officers than there was in the past. Steve, you've been trying to get a question in about 5 minutes.
This question was connected to what you were saying before too, that you really do have a young staff. And so as a new chief, what do you see as the advantages and challenges of having all those young officers? I mean, there's still a fair amount of balance.
Yes.
But what do they bring you, and what challenges does that bring as well?
I think the challenges are just going to be getting them trained. Our department budget is not very big. I know you hear $1.2 million. Well, $750,000 of that is wages for 15 people. So our actual operating budget outside of wages, insurance, and benefits is not that much. And I think our training budget right now is, I think I got it up to $7,500, and that's for 14 officers. 14 people I have to send to school for $7,500. That's going to be the big thing, is getting them to the big trainings. The investigative trainings, death investigation, drug investigation, CIT trainings, because those cost, they're a lot of money, and they're week-long trainings. They're not just a 3-day in-service. Benefits, they're young, they're motivated. You can mold them how you want. I know that kind of sounds bad, it's not meant to sound bad, but you can basically build them up how you want them to be. And I want my officers to be community officers. So I can push them out and say, you know, you need to go pull doors, start talking to people. Go to the high school, go to the middle school, go to the sporting events and things like that. That's the advantage of having young ones. More so the motivation. They're motivated.
The first week after break, we had, within 1 week, we had 3 different issues at the high school. We had a very good officer and new evaluations, and I was really impressed because 2 of those young officers were in then with their mentor. I don't, what do you?
Oh, they're FTOs?
Their FTO.
Their field
I
training.
was just really impressed how well your guys did training those young officers, kind of explain what they're doing and why they're doing, as we had those conversations too. So it made me feel, as a member of the community here, made me feel really good about the training those young officers are getting to.
Each FTO has to go through a week of training just to be an FTO. And you don't just send anybody through FTO school. You gotta have people that can work alongside, you know, whoever they're gonna be training and be able to, you know, intermingle different ideas and personalities. And I think right now we have that. We have people that, you know, I mean, Chris Stewart, he's got 20-some years in law enforcement. He's very knowledgeable. He's actually my FTO coordinator. He trains and coordinates the whole darn thing. And then all our FTOs have all that experience. So that helps a lot too, you know.
What do you see that we as citizens can do to support the police department and do, I worry about retaining your officers and not having Prescott be a training ground for them to go elsewhere?
You know, today's society, they get portrayed as thugs and, you know, excessive force, and that's getting pounded. And so when you see them driving around and you don't see a smile on their face, it's not because they don't want to say hi to you or they don't want to wave at you. They don't know how you feel about them, okay? So if you see them, smile at them, say hi, you know, how's things going, how's life, you know, be open to them, you know, and just know that the lack of smile on their face, you don't know what they just got off of as far as a call. You don't, you know, they see some pretty bad stuff. And bad stuff, I mean, bodies that are, you know, deceased, young children that are abused, young females that have been abused. They see that. And believe it or not, I know you guys don't know this happens on a daily basis here in Prescott, okay? They're not smiling because they don't want to talk to you. They may have just been on something that really tormented them mentally and emotionally. So just walk up to them and say hi, talk to them, ask them how they're doing, introduce yourselves, and that's the best thing that you can do.
If I might add something to that, this community's changed since I've been here in 78 quite a bit, but I would suggest part of their training is them stopping when they see somebody in the yard, they're raking just to say hello, whether they're feeling good or not, because that raises the trust level
Yes.
a great deal. Instead of, are they an adversary or are they on my side? Then I'm willing to maybe share what's going on
Yep.
right in that neighborhood. So I'm sure you know that already. I was just throwing that out.
No, that's actually a good point. I try to make sure when I was training that I waved at every single person that I saw. Because if I'm waving at you, obviously you know that I'm approachable,
Right.
you know, and so I try to instill that in the people that were with me. And that was a big thing that I put out for Chris with the new guys. Make them friendly, make them approachable, make them smile and wave every time they see somebody. Doesn't matter if you're driving down the road or, you know, at the gas station. Spark up a conversation. So.
Just a couple of comments. Steve was on the police commission when I was also, so you've been through the hiring process, but I had the opportunity to ride a couple of times with officers. Mm-hmm. Now, some of the take-home value I got from that is, one, it's a very tough job and it's a lonely job, because they're out there at night driving around. They don't really have people to talk to. They may be communicating with the other officer on the job, but it's not a social job. It's not like an office where you're going to sit down and talk a little bit about somebody and so forth. So it's a lonely job. It's a job that people don't really want to see you, particularly when you're stopping or they're doing, I don't want to say nasty things that have to be done to people, but it's not one that most people will get a lot of joy off.
Right.
And then the third thing I got, which is probably most important, and you had mentioned it at the start, was when in doubt, call the officer. And an incident I got, there was some kid's bicycle, a bigger kid came and smashed it or did something with it, and the father talked to the police department, and he said, I'm gonna go over and talk to this kid's father. Police officer says, don't. He's gonna beat you up if you go do that. Let us do it. That woke me up. Yeah, real quick. So, any doubt, I will call the police department, and they've always handled things very, very well.
Good.
Yeah.
I think you were riding along one night, we had one of our biggest meth busts.
Yeah.
Cherry Street.
Yeah, and the one thing that impressed me about that with you and Gary is you treated the offenders with respect.
Right.
You never put them down, never said nasty things to them, but were treated, with respect.
They're people just like us. They just chose a different path to go down than we did.
Yeah, but there would be time that untrained person would be really upset that they were dealing meth or drugs in the city, and
Well, don't get me wrong, it doesn't make me happy that they're doing it here.
No, but your training was, you were respectful to them.
Yeah.
And I think they were respectful back to you too. They didn't try to fight you or do anything, as I recall, yeah.
Last spring, when we were our family bike ride, and Brett was out in a neighborhood where I know that the officers probably need to spend a fair amount of time, would be the apartments and so forth there. And she's out there playing basketball with a bunch of the kids. And it's kids that, like, from my position, I know that things aren't a good light there. And it's like the impact that she was having on those kids there, and their ability to get help when they need it and see officers in different light was, I mean, that's exactly what I think you want from your officers, just make that connection.
Yep.
I think the other thing is that the officers knew the community and they knew the people in the community.
Right.
And they know backgrounds and so forth. And I was impressed with the knowledge that they had about, the folks.
I think the biggest thing that your police department has going for it is, out of all of our officers, only 2 of them live more than 20 minutes away. We have one that lives in Baldwin and one that lives in River Falls. Myself, I'm right here in town. Mark is right here in town. Brett, she's just a little ways away. Chase is a little ways away. Nick is here in town. Eric is a little ways away. We don't have people driving from Eau Claire like we used to, or not living in the city. The reason the ones don't live here now is because they're young and still living at home. So you got all your veteran officers are less than 3 minutes from the city of Prescott. And I think that's a good deal. I think that's very important. We can't make them live here, but I tend to push it. I mean, I've lived here my whole career. I've had people knock on my door asking for help. And while is that ideal? No, but I still answer my door, and I point them in the right direction. So that's huge. I mean, that's huge for community relations as well. Yes, sir.
I have a question for you, or maybe it's for Sean. You mentioned earlier about dark episodes of policing happening every day, but I'm not reading that in the police reports in the paper. Why is the discrepancy there?
Well, what I mean by that is we don't see them every day, but they're happening every day. We don't always get called. We don't always catch it, but the stuff is going on every day.
And for the juvenile ones, they won't,
Yeah, you won't see the juvenile stuff anyways.
No, but I don't think I've ever read a report in the paper that said an officer discovered a dead body in a house, or there's 14 meth arrests this week. It's usually just traffic stuff.
Yeah, it happens. And usually the big ones they get to Sean.
If not through, then to the counties.
Yeah, yep. No, I'm not saying there's a dead body every day. If we had that, we'd have to start looking at other things. We've got a problem. But no, the meth, the drug use, the abuse, it happens on a daily basis here. You just don't see it, and we don't always get called for it, you know.
Any other questions for Eric? Thank you for your time.